Holy smokes. I just got off an amazing interview here with Kyle Stevens out of Rochester, New York. And I have a question to ask you. Do you work as hard on your family as you do in your business? If your answer is no, you better listen to this episode. You don't want to miss this one. Kyle drops some incredible content throughout this about how to balance that work-life balance, how to put your family back in charge, how to become more grateful. Man, I could go on for a half hour. I'm not going to. Just listen to this entire episode. It'll change your life. Hello, and welcome to Outer Spaces, a podcast dedicated to empowering designers and contractors in the outdoor living space. Through this show, I hope to create a powerful resource for you, someone who is trying to grow their company but might not have all the tools and processes to do so. On Outer Spaces, we're passionate about breaking the chains of small mindsets and helping contractors just like you take control of their businesses and their lives. My name is Joshua Gillow, and through my 25 years of dirt under the nails experience, I look forward to sharing tips, strategies, and other contractor success stories here on the Outer Spaces podcast. Now, let's get on with the show. Hello, all you beautiful people out there. Welcome back to the Outer Spaces podcast. This is your host, Joshua Gillow, and this podcast is sponsored by Yes Express, where we teach you how to get more yeses with less stress. So today, we have a guest on, Kyle Stevens. He's been on the podcast before. He's the owner of KDS Design Studios in Rochester, New York. He's an amazing human being. He's my brother from another mother, and I want to have a conversation with him today about what life looks like for him. So, Kyle, welcome to the show. How you doing, man?
Thanks, Josh. I'm doing great, man. Things are great. How are you doing?
Oh, man, I'm good, man. Everything's great. Everything's great.
Bullshit.
What?
Bullshit.
What are you talking about, dude?
Is it really great?
Well, yeah, that's what I tell everybody.
What you think? Yeah, but is that what you think everyone wants to hear? Or do you want to hear? We want to hear the truth, Josh.
Oh, well, that's not fun. We don't want to talk about that. We want to talk about what we show everybody, right? All the image out, the Instagram side of things. I'm not going to talk about the other stuff. Nobody wants to talk about that.
Right. It's so funny. It's so frustrating to me that, as we, and I'm sure you experience it too, we speak to so many young entrepreneurs or people that have been in business for years and years, our colleagues, the people that are close to us, our family members. Hey, what's going on? Oh, things are great. Things are great. But yet, deep down inside that they're all carrying and wrestling the same shit that you are.
Yeah.
And, it's really a superpower when you can break through those barriers and actually be humble with your peer group and say, hey, yeah, man, things are okay, but boy, they sure could be better. I'm really struggling with work-life balance and that's the power, right? That's where we can find our power is in our peer group. Don't you agree?
Oh, 100%, dude. And, to be honest, running a business, as you know, Kyle, you've been running a business the same, if not longer than I have, right? Running a business it's work. And we want it to look amazing because we want others to think that we are ballers at this, right? Especially as men with our egos get involved so quickly. And it's a matter of always trying to show up the other person. Like you can't look weak. You can't be vulnerable. You're a business owner. You're a man. You're a blah, 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 fill in the blank, right? So the point is that is bullshit. And that's what this entire episode is going to be about. It's going to be about talking through that bullshit because we can put on that fake facade all we want and live that Instagram life to the world. But if we're hurting inside, if we're hollow inside, if we're, struggling inside and we want to just keep it to ourselves and not be vulnerable and open up to our peer group, to our families, to everybody, we're just screwing ourselves, completely screwing ourselves and playing this game of everything is fine. It's not fine. I know every day I struggle with things and I might not make it the thing I lead with, but in my peer group and in my tribe, I'll be as honest and vulnerable as anybody. I will say it exactly as it is. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care what people think. All I care about is the fact that because when you say something, it's the old story of when you name it, you can tame it, but you need to speak it first. And that's the thing that's the hardest part, especially for men. Women are so much better at this. Ladies out there listening, you figured this out a long time ago. We're too stupid yet to do this. The point is, when you finally start to admit that, hey, maybe I don't got it all figured out. Maybe I am struggling with a certain thing. You mentioned about work-life balance being, something that you're working on. That's something I struggle with every day. And I have to be conscious and purposeful in what I'm doing, or it will get off track quick. That is not like, oh, Josh figured it out. Everything's great. Joshua's got all this figured out. He does because he constantly struggles. That's why. But those struggles are where you grow.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for most entrepreneurs, it should be the first thing in your thoughts every day is, how do we effectively prevent stacking all of the things in our lives and putting so much emphasis on what we have to do instead, and in fact lose sight of the gift that we have, and that's actually enjoying life. Yes. And we spend so much time working all the time, and it sometimes that becomes the only thing we can see. And so understanding that, being humble with one another and opening up with one another, is basically how you keep yourself in check, how you keep things from stacking like that. So recently, so as you said, I've been in business 35 years, and and for those who don't know, and had a large company, and then scaled back to a design build platform. And in the past recent year, I was approached by a large local design build firm, and they offered me an incredible job to come on board and design and sell for them. And it's kind of my retirement plan. And so I eagerly looked at it, and I said, well, this is going to improve my quality of life. And so I took the opportunity. It's been great. But the only problem is that now I still have my company, and now I'm working for this other company, and I'm finding that, I'm working more now than I did 10 years ago. And, you're so transfixed on the things that you have to do that are right in front of you that oftentimes, we lose sight of what's really going on. And it wasn't until just the other day when my son, who's 16, calls me, and we sat down for lunch, and he's like, I'm worried about your work-life balance, and I'm worried that you're going down that path that you used to be on. And, and to make a long story short, I mean, he nailed me, and you're absolutely right. And, oftentimes the thing that matters the most is often paying the biggest price for us to chase our dreams.
Dude, I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. And I know I've been through that struggle most of my career, where I feel like I'm on a roll with something, like business is good, we're being profitable. And I feel like I almost have to focus more on the business to keep that going. That's how it was for years, at least, not anymore, but it was for years. Like, if I don't focus all my attention on that, it's going to break. Something's going to happen. I'm going to have to come back to my family. I mean, this is the worst thing that could happen, right? Come back to my family and say I failed. All that time I stole from you, Kyle. Right. I now have nothing to show for it. If you come back with lots of money, they can buy things and you think they will like you. The problem is, all they ever want is you. That's all they want. They don't give a shit about the money, just enough to get through. All that kind of stuff is fine. But I would guarantee that they would, if you've given them the opportunity, they will say, I will spend all day with you versus you giving me money because you were making money during that time and not spending it with me. They wouldn't give up the day for money. That's the thing. That's the true reality of it all.
Yeah, it's absolutely right. And it's a hard cycle to break too.
Oh yeah.
Right.
It's a bitch.
And, we kind of jumped right into this, but it's a really hard cycle to break. And most people will, when you start out, it's all hands on deck. You're doing whatever you have to earn a living. But at some point, there's a transition from starting a business and working for a paycheck to actually running a business.
Yep.
And as soon as you get to that point where you're building a company, you have to be mindful that, you're there to run a business, and running a business means allocating time for your family, for your friends, and actually having a life. If you're not able to create that, well, then you're just working for a paycheck, and perhaps maybe you should do that for someone else. And, it's a very, very tough thing to implement for many people, and to actually create that work-life balance. I see guys all the time. I mean, I think if you were to, poll the majority of the businesses that have been around for 10 or more years, I think that it's a very common denominator for a lot of people. And, being able to separate and turn things off and acknowledge the wins that you've had during the day. It's something that I've been talking a lot with people lately, is the importance of acknowledging the wins.
Mm-hmm.
We all have a long list of things we have to do, but how, acknowledging the wins that you have gotten done and actually giving yourself credit for getting those things accomplished. And if you do that, and, throughout the course of your day, it at least with me, it helps shut the machine off when I get home so that I can be more connected with my family.
I love it.
And not be so weighed down by all of those things that I feel like I have to do. So it's my thing is I always say that I want to eliminate the I just have to's in my life. I just have to get this done. I just have to make this last call. I just have to do this. And at the end of the day, my son said to me, he goes, we appreciate how hard you work, and we appreciate all that you do for us. And we're glad to sacrifice time, knowing that, if you're doing what you have to do, but you're happy. But if you're sacrificing time and you're not happy, well, then you're really taking from us. It's really not worth it. And, for a 16-year-old to say something like that, I was like, I don't know whether I should just, I mean, he just nailed me. And, but at the same time, I'm like, high five, I mean, what the heck, where did you come from?
That's incredible. Dude, you're very blessed. It's very blessed that he had the respect. It's probably the best word for it. The respect to come to his dad and say that to him, and not, and know that he has a safe space to do that, to be able to say it. You're not gonna be like, get the hell out of my way, kid, but you're going to be open to it. And I bet that was nothing but humbling when he, tell me how what emotion you went through when you heard that. Like what did your mind go through? What did you do? Well,
it's funny because a lot of people would be quick to rebut that. Oh, that's not true. But this is where we're cutting through the bullshit, right?
Yes, exactly right.
And I sat there and I said, his name is Will. I said, Will, you're 100% correct. And I'm a creature of habit. I've always been a doer, a grinder, and I'm a people pleaser. It's a horrible combination. Yeah. So I have these obligations, and I'll get out there and I'll just work and work and work until the job is done. And oftentimes, you get focused and you lose sight of everything around you. And, and I told him, I said, well, obviously change takes time. However, we've talked about it. I'm acknowledging it. Now we have to take massive action to fix it.
Yeah.
And so immediately we started putting steps in place, and we've talked about it. And now he's my accountability partner.
I love that.
And he's going to hold me to it, because at the end, really, that's all that's important,
Family.
A good friend of ours, a mutual friend of ours, Wes Roberts, recently shared this.
Love Wes, yeah.
I know, he's stinking
so good.
Star. And he shared this thing with me. He said, do we? Well, there's a lot that we talked about, but one thing that really resonated with me is, do you work as hard on your relationship as you do on your job?
Boom. Mic drop right there. Ouch. Ouch.
Yeah. So that's what now, is that anything new? Not really, but I've never really looked at it like that. And so now every day on my way home, that's what I'm putting through my mind is, okay.
Yeah.
Am I prepared to work as hard on my family as I did today?
Yeah.
And, it really is amazing how it changed my perspective. And I have a pretty good perspective. I work very hard at keeping my perspective in the right check. And, but it's just amazing. It's just amazing.
It is, dude. And I love, so many things about what Wes said. And, it's so true. Imagine listeners out there, if you would take all the focus you focus on in keeping your business running and keeping this thing going and all the grind that you put into it and the mental, not just the physical, but the mental time that you put into solving problems and being the best version of a leader you can to your teams. If you took that home and you put that same energy, that same emphasis, that same vigor behind making your family successful, your marriage, your kids' lives, how would life be different? That's the crux of it all here, right? We do this all for our families, right? The bigger goal is we work our ass off, we grind so that we can prove.
Though? I mean, really, do we? Do we really? This is a great question. Do we really do what we do just for our families?
Well,
or is it that we're chasing this desire to scratch this itch, whether it be to be a business owner, to be self-made person, to be an artist, a creator, to be an innovator, whatever it is. I mean, we really are chasing this thing because, I mean, let's be honest, the vast majority of the landscape companies or the people in the green industry are incredible workers, but they're horrible business people, right?
True.
Most of us have no idea what our worth actually is.
True.
Right? So to that point, what is it that drives us to do what we're doing? Now, it starts out, we all need to eat. Okay. Mm-hmm. We got to earn a paycheck. So we effectively master that, right? We get out there, and for me, we started cutting grass. And it was out of a necessity because I owned rental property. So we started cutting grass to fix that, find a solution to that. So we're cutting grass. But then I started adding more lawns. And next thing you know, now I've got employees and I'm cutting grass. So that became a business. What drove me to do the next thing? Well, geez, I'm pretty creative. I like to build things. So I start building things, and then one thing led to another. And now, and so now 35 years later, I've done all of these different roles. I've had all these different roles, but it wasn't until about maybe 15 years ago that I recognized, wait a minute, I need to be a good business person. I run a business. I don't just go out there and build cool stuff, right? It's about running a business. So the question is do we really do what we do for our families?
Dude.
I mean,
yeah. I mean, so we're just going to pause right there because I've been down this track hard. Okay. And I mean, hard again, we're being vulnerable and raw here, right, Kyle? We're just laying it out as it is. We're not saying, everything's fine. Right. So I went through an event. I love experiential events because they really help me understand things. I am a tactile person. I learn best that's why I was a landscaper for so long. That's why I love building things. I love working with my hands. I just love building cool stuff. Right. So anyway, with that being said, I went through this event. It's called Undisputed Mastery. My life coach, I have coaches in all the different segments of my life because that's how I can grow the best version of me. Anyway, he had an event in Vegas, and it was a boxing event. Boxing was the metaphor, but we did beat the shit out of each other too. But the point is, I realized there that I was lying to myself, saying this whole time that, that this whole thing was for my family. Exactly to your point. This is all for my family, when really, you know what it was for? My ego.
Your ego.
My ego. I was feeding my ego. The more projects we got, the more money we made, the better I thought about myself, the more valuable I felt about myself. And dude, I broke down like a man broken with a whip. When that hit me, that I was stealing from my family for my ego. Yeah. Dude, stealing from them. And they will always love me. But I was not happy about myself at that point. And I came back, and to your point about accountability, I came back and I actually sat down I wrote notes. Crazy enough. God is amazing, right? My flight from Vegas to Newark was delayed by like an entire day. So I sat there after this and stewed in this. I couldn't just come back to what I was comfortable in and jump right back in and just kind of push this off. Not that I would anyway, but that it could just become normalized. I said, no. I've got this time. God, give me this time to process this. So I wrote a letter to my wife. I wrote a letter to my oldest and my youngest son about how their father is going to show up better, more present, and focused on them and not his fucking ego anymore. And I wrote this bawling my eyes out over and over. I mean, I was a broken man by the end of it. And the craziest part is that galvanized my ability now to spend quality present time with my kids and to say yes to their events and say no to clients, because I know what my mission is now. It's clear, crystal clear, but I was lying to myself, cloaking this entire business thing and all the different businesses I had all for them, when it was really all for me. It was like a wolf in sheep's clothing. That's what it was. Yep. And I said, oh my God, when I flipped that and I realized I was doing that, I had to kill it. And I killed it. Thank goodness. Man, most of my career, dude, 43 and a half years.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because with social media, we get inundated with all this, hey, look at me stuff, you know, and the people who have families that are in business, this will probably resonate with them. The ones who are building a business and they don't have a family yet, this may all sound like, you know, what are these guys talking about, you know? But someday you may have a family. And the reality is that this is a common thing. I mean, you know, we all do this. We certainly need to survive, but we're all trying to fulfill some aspiration for notoriety or something. Mm-hmm. And whether it's to drive the nice truck or have the newest equipment or, you know, have your name plastered around town. There's this is self-gratification.
Yes.
And to your point, you know, your family, they love you and they trust that you are taking the time that you spend away from your home and you're being a good steward of that. And they trust you and they trust that you are going to do the best job you can to be the best provider. But oftentimes, you know, young entrepreneurs will make decisions based off of what they feel is going to make them feel better, mm-hmm. right? Versus what actually makes sense from a value perspective.
Yes.
And I was guilty of it. And, you know, I never realized or recognized that, you know, how strong my prideful ways were as a young guy, mm-hmm. but I'm guilty as charged. I made all of those mistakes. And, you know, when you're chasing the dream, sometimes it's so easy to get lost in the chaos of work. It's a lot easier to be lost in that, you know, oh, I got all this. I'm so busy. I've got so much pressure on me. I've got so much going on. It's easier to be in that space than actually be still and quiet at home with your spouse or your kids and being able to connect with them. And especially for men who are entrepreneurs, you know, they're quick to offer a solution to a problem. Mm-hmm. And when you're in a relationship, you're a partner, you have a partnership. And what really means to be a partner is not necessarily solving the problem, okay, or creating the solution, because oftentimes your partner is capable of handling the situation. They just want you to be there with them, you know, like, you know, does my wife need me to help her cook dinner? No, but boy, it's so much nicer if we cook together.
Yep.
You know, and often if you've got all this pressure and all these things going through your head, it's easier to be able to lose yourself there than invest yourself at home where it's, you know, where you're more vulnerable. Sure. I think that one of the biggest things that I see with most companies on a social media platform, you know, some of the groups that we're all involved with, you know, these guys are very talented. They're starting out, but they have no idea what their worth is. And there's two parts to that. Number one, what your numbers are, the importance of knowing your numbers and knowing that you can't discount. Your numbers should be driven from what your costs are, not from what someone else's costs are. So I see all these posts, you know, hey, what's the going rate for a retaining wall, or how much should I be charging for this broken flagstone patio? You know, you can throw any number out there you want, but it really doesn't matter, because really what matters is how much it's going to cost you to build that and how much money you require for your family at the end of the day. So it's always nice to know what the market will bear and where people are in their pricing. But really, at the end of the day, you have to know your numbers. And there's nothing worse than sacrificing all this time, chasing this dream that you have to scratch, right? You're trying to scratch, you're filling your ego, and getting to the end of the year and not having any money.
Yes.
Or often working so hard, not being home, missing the ball games, all those family things, and actually not get a paycheck.
Yeah.
I mean, I can count dozens and dozens and dozens of weeks in my 35 years as being a owner operator where I didn't get a paycheck. And it was because I didn't know my numbers.
Yeah.
As soon as I embraced that and recognized the fact that I am a business owner and that is my first priority, then that changed, you know? And then the second part of understanding your worth is knowing when to say no and walk away.
Well, that's a tough lesson, brother. It took me a long time to learn that one, especially being a recovering people pleaser. Yeah,
absolutely. And, we all are chase. We're all in chase mode all the time. But, and I think you and I, from the Sales Mastery and through all of the classes that you're putting out, the lesson there, the greatest lesson is that these people are calling you. All right. You're not calling them. They're calling you. You're the authority, and you can't let somebody else value your worth. You're the only one that can do that.
Yep.
If you choose to give something away, that's your choice. Right. But you don't drop your drawers because you feel like you want that job, or maybe it's a beautiful, incredible project and it's just this your dream job, but they want you to cut your margin down. But you know what? You're fulfilling your prideful nature does not pay bills. Yeah. And
yeah.
I could probably have paid for my kids' college educations, yours on money I've lost because I wanted to build something so bad.
Oh, dude, you and me both. You're not the only one with that disposition. When I first started out, it was like, oh my God, this project, it's a corner lot, brand new community. They want what I got. I can show off, like there's the ego again. I can show them what I can do because I got something to prove. I've got people, my worth comes from what others think of me. Right. So the higher they think of me, the higher I think of me. And that is one slippery ass slope, Kyle. You know it as well as I do, because as soon as they don't think much of you, you don't think much of you either. So that doesn't work. So those projects I've taken discounts on just to do exactly that. And the funny part is some of those projects never turned into other projects. And I was like, so I took that loss because I wanted that corner lot where that homeowner made sure they sold it to me. Like if a client comes to me in the old days and was trying to sell their project to me and be like, it's a corner lot, you're going to love this place, I can't wait for you to see it. I was like, okay, I'll be out tomorrow. I'll be out. This is so good. So good. And then all of a sudden you get so emotionally invested that you start making poor decisions. To your point, it wasn't until I started working with Vander Kooi and Charles over there with their multiple overhead recovery system. And back in 2007, 2008, when I started to see exactly what you're talking about knowing numbers. And then, to go through 08, 09 and the crash, and we made it through. We stayed in the black, squeaked by in the black as we moved through there, because when a client would say something, they say, oh, it's a corner lot. Good. Here's the price. Oh, can you give me a discount? Like, no, that price is the price. There's only three ways to change that price. And either you're going to sweat equity this thing and you're going to get out and do all the demo work for us. Nothing else. Demo work only. Get it prepared for us. You save some money there. You're going to change scope. Okay. Which feature do you want us to take out, Mrs. Jones? Or the third is I can go from those nice pavers or natural stone into concrete. Some other way, or gravel, something else to make that patio cheaper. They're your three levers, Mrs. Jones. Which one would you like to pull? That's the only way your price is going to change, because my price is my price. But I learned that, just like you did, the hard way.
Yep. It's funny because the guys that have been around for a minute obviously will, immediately connect with Vander Kooi. But that was a hard system to initiate back then. Okay.
It was like rocket science.
Spreadsheets and you had to have the big calculator, and you had it in. But now it's not that hard. It's so simple now. You've got Wes with Synced Up. You've got LMN. You've got Aspire. You've got these systems out there now that are incredible, And they actually, for Synced Up and with LMN, they were written by landscapers.
Yeah.
Okay.
In our language.
So they get it.
Yeah.
They make it super easy for you to create budgets and understand what it actually costs you to be in business. And, it's funny because people ask me all the time, why would you go to work for this other company? And, why would you do that? You've got such a great thing going. And there was a couple reasons for that. The company I joined is Josh Landscape, and here in upstate New York in the Rochester area. And I've known the owner for 15 years. And we basically, what it comes down to is we basically are all on the exact same road, right? Yeah. Every one of the listeners listening to this, we're all on the exact same road. Mm-hmm. We're just we're just in different positions on that road. And for me, he offered an opportunity for me to jump ahead about 10 blocks. Yeah. And jumping ahead 10 blocks, it gets me closer to my retirement, right? Yeah. Which is my goal, my end goal. What's my exit strategy? And so he solved that problem that I had. Okay. But the only reason why I would even consider it is because of the intentional focus that this company puts on knowing their numbers on a company level. Yeah. There's transparency. You sit down every week, you review the numbers, you review the budget, you review the incoming sales, you know exactly what's going on. And then you can plan. So you're not reacting, you're preparing. And, I know that this company, because we openly look at the numbers and we review them consistently every week, I know that they have my best interests at heart. Yeah. Because they're going to be able to withstand a recession. They're going to be able to adapt because they live and die by their numbers. The big difference is that's a very transactional company, and I'm more of a transformational person. Yeah. So, that's a little bit of an adjustment for me. But, the other thing that has helped, and I think that you can relate with this a lot too, is that it's all about having good mentors. Yeah. You've got to have good people around you, whether they're business people, whether it's somebody outside of business that you hold in high regard, that is there to help you and lift you up, that don't have any other agenda. Yep. That they just really, truly want to see you succeed. And I think that if we look around and we look at our peer group, we all help each other. We're all, investing in one another. And all of us have elevated our position in the last several years. Yep. Think about where you've come. Now, you work really hard, but just think about where you've gotten. It's all because of these opportunities and these influencers in your life that have invested in you.
Dude, I could not agree any more than that. Again, back to the way we started this podcast with it being this fake facade. If I went around and said, look at me, I did it myself. This is amazing. Look how awesome I am. You know what I mean? You're 43, you're financially free. You own multiple businesses. You travel all over the world and don't have to think about it. Like, oh, look at me. I'm like, no, that's because I have all those things in my life now because I got to stand on the shoulders of giants. Exactly. I got to stand with other men and women in my life that started with my parents and moving all the way through. And as I started to grow, I'm like, okay, I want to do Ninja Warrior. I got a coach. Like, okay, I want to make sure my sales process is as dialed in as possible. Years ago with Master Plan, I hired a coach. I have a life coach who is kind of like my overarching coach. He's my life and business coach. He has been for over 4 years now. I have coaches. If I want to go boxing, I have a coach. I have Caesar. I go to him, right? I go to these men and women because I want to know that I can fast track my time. I only have so many breaths to take on this planet, Kyle. God willing, I'll have 100 years of give and impact in humanity, but that's on God. That's not on me, right? So I'm here to give whatever it takes now. But in order to get there faster and become the man that can help and impact and empower as many human beings as I can, that's my mission. I have to grow. And if these men and women have already been there, why would I want to recreate the wheel? Why would I not want to hire somebody or bring them in? And it's not always about money. You know, when I started in real estate, my mentor, well, I didn't have a mentor at the time when I first started out. I was looking for one, and one appeared. They always say when the student is ready, the mentor appears, right? The student was ready, and my mentor jumped right in, and he helped me out to understand a lot more about the real estate side of things. And he came to me and he said, "Do you want to partner on a deal?" And I'm like, "Oh my goodness, yes. Like, of course, like I want to learn from you." So we then started, building an empire as well that way together. And what I learned from spending time with him and him just giving, and it wasn't a monetary, I didn't pay him to do that. Right. But he knows, like I know, and like, that money is the lowest form of currency. Right. So when it comes down to it, everyone needs to make money to survive. I get that. But after about $75,000 to $100,000 in an income a year, your needs are met for the most part. Right. Anything after that now becomes nice. Right. So you're not worried about survival anymore. You're actually worried about how can I finally live the true version of myself? That's when that starts to happen. Well, we started working together and like I said, with all the different mentors in my life, and they've sped up. They've like Tony Robbins says, they've helped me compress decades into days. And I've been able to scale. So in like 3, 4, 5 years, I've done what most men don't do in a lifetime, but it's because of me volunteering and helping them. It's taking over certain roles that I'm not really that excited about, but I'm willing to learn about, and to be a value in the team. And next thing you know, I have access to like all these people that are doing ridiculous things that I only hope I can get to. But now I know I'll be there in 2 years.
Right. It's funny too, because, those who have never had a mentor or struggle to find a peer group, it all starts with humility.
Yeah.
Because no one's going to help somebody that's full of shit.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And don't, respect is not something that's purchased. Respect is not something that,
it's earned.
you get by showing off, right? Respect is earned. And if you're looking for a mentor, or you're looking for somebody to help you in business, and you call a competitor, all right, and you say, "Hey, I'm really struggling with this," I'd be curious to see how many of them say, well, if they have the time to talk to you at that point, if they'll offer you suggestions or if they'll shut you right down.
Yeah.
My guess is that most of us are here to help. We're all here to help because we're all wrestling with this exact same problems. And I bet you almost anything they call up here and say, "Hey, man, I'm really having trouble finding people. What have you been doing lately? Do you have any tips to help you, recruit new people?" People are willing to share their time, provided that you're not fulfilling some trumped up ego, right? If you're humble and you're honest about it, man, it's really a powerful thing. But that's what it takes. It takes humility. Hey, listen, I want to learn how to box and I don't know a thing about it.
Yep.
Right.
You got it.
Okay. This is where
here's how I like to say it. Exactly. Here's how I like to say it. Today, I want to suck at something new.
Yeah.
That's how you become humble. I do this all the time. For instance, heading out to a horseback riding event that I'm doing in Colorado next week. I head out Wednesday. I'm going out with my wife. She's been on a horse since she was a child, 8 years old. That is like her thing. I have looked at horses from a distance, right? That has not been my thing. So she says to me, we went out to this ranch 2 years ago with the family and we had an amazing time. I got there. I'm like, all right, it's going to be her thing. We're going to sit here for a week. We're stuck on this mountainside. Like saboteurs started kicking up. Like I had all these negative thoughts about it. I get there. I'm like, you know what? No, this is not how you work, Joshua. You go in and you play full out and you get everything you can from the experience, right? And even if it's not what you think it's going to be, you just go and give it your best and you always get the best from it. So we went out to this event and it was a week long and we're, out with horses through the mountains and just beautiful scenery. We did an overnight backpacking trip out. By the end, Kyle, when I got off my horse and untacked that horse for the last time, I was crying because I didn't want to leave. And I was like, this is not my thing. Why are these horses able to do this? But it wasn't just the horses. It was the time spent with my wife. It's something she absolutely loves. You can see it, just, it resonates in her heart. So now we're going back out 2 years later to do the cattle wrestling. So not wrestling. So that's the wrong way to say it. We're going to go out and we're going to actually wrangle them up out of the mountains and bring them down into the corrals for the different companies and stuff. So I said, what I don't want to do is go out to this event and be the weakest person there because I don't know anything about horsemanship, right? So I don't want to do that. So I started to train over, I don't know, about, I think it's 3-4 months now. I've been training weekly with a lady that, and multiple horses, multiple teachers. So I get a good mix of different opinions. And now I get on a horse, and yesterday was my last lesson before we leave. And we did walk, trot and canter, all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I'm not great at any of it, but I understand that I'm dangerous enough to go and have a good time. But I say that because I had to humble myself. I had to humble myself and say, you know what? I don't know anything about this. And they would yell at me like, don't do it this way, do it that way. And I had to be the dumbest one in the room. And if you continually keep working that into your lifestyle, and like, for instance, the boxing or this or whatever else it might be that you want to train for or do, if you are okay and you can humble yourself to become that person, dude, there's nothing that can stop you because you can always go back and remember what it was like in kindergarten. I'll never forget this, dude. I was sitting in my first UPW in Chicago, and Tony Robbins stands up in front of the room, the huge man as he is, just so much power and energy. And he says to the room, how many people out there have a fear of failure? Put your hand up. And I'm like, oh shit. Like, I'm not putting my hand up because if anybody knew that about me, like, that's my thing. I own that. No one else on this planet owns that. Only I own that. That's my story. No one else can have that. 90% plus of the room put their hands up. I'm like, oh, damn it. Then he said, all right, how many other people are scared of what other people think about them? I'm like, oh boy, here's another big one. I can't put my hand up. What are they going to think if I put my hand up? Right. 90+% of the people put their hand up. And I'm like, oh shit. So you're telling me the story that I keep telling myself that I own isn't even my story? Everyone else has the same story. He went on like a bunch of these things, and it was uncanny how everybody was struggling with the same mental thing. And I was like,
it's crazy. I'm not worthy.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
I'm not worthy. I'm not enough. I'm a phony.
Yep.
Right.
Imposter.
All those things. Those are common denominators for a lot of people. The vast majority of the people out there.
And you don't own that. I don't own that. And that was the lesson for me, because I'm thinking like, I own that. Like, everyone else would laugh at me if they knew that. But they're all going through the same thing.
That's right. That's right. And to that point, the other thing is the mindset, is where your mind is. So I'm going to back before I get into that. I want to just say that our friendship doesn't go back decades. Okay. However, it does go back quite a ways. I mean, so I've been around in your life, Ninja Warrior stuff, the box, all of these different things. And the one thing that I absolutely love about you is like the boxing. I specifically remember you telling me, "Oh yeah, I'm training. I'm training for some boxing. I'm getting into boxing." And I sat there and I thought to myself, I didn't see that one coming. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm training for American Ninja Warrior. I'm like, okay. I didn't see that coming. But what's great is that when you start, you finish.
Yes.
You do it. You actually do it. And that's one of the things I absolutely love about you. And it's inspiring, right?
Thank you.
What I was going to say prior is, it's, your mindset, and most people struggle with, things are never going to get any better. It's never going to change. I work so hard, and, I want to be able to be that guy to come home and separate work from home. And I want to be that guy that doesn't have to work 7 days a week, but it's never going to change. I don't see this ever getting any better. And, we've talked about this on the last time I was on, and it's all about perception. And for most of us, we stack all of the missed expectations or or the disappointments in our lives. We stack them up, and eventually the pile comes down. And usually the one thing that's put on top of the pile, that last thing, it could be the smallest thing, gets the brunt of all of those disappointments. And oftentimes it's our family, you know. But changing your perspective it's really so simple, and it doesn't require much work at all. But life and running a business, being a spouse, a partner, having kids, all of these things in life are always taking. Everything is taking something from us, but our emotional bucket is only capable of carrying so much. So if these things are all of these requirements are taking from us, what are we doing to fill that bucket back up? Yeah. And I've shared with you, it's a simple exercise of picking things daily in your life that you take for granted. And I wholeheartedly thank God for those things. You can thank the universe, the birch, whatever you want to do. But I wholeheartedly thank God for those things as gifts, because really I deserve nothing. Yeah. But yet I'm surrounded by opportunity. I live in an amazing country. I'm surrounded by people who, actually value what I'm capable of creating. I mean, I can go on and on and on. There's so many things to be grateful for, but very seldomly do we actually acknowledge them. And so I make it a point. I do 5 things. I used to do 10. Okay. If you're pro,
are you slacking?
10.
Dude, no, before you get into this is a gigantic for the listeners. This is like a major, major nugget he's going to drop on you right now. And when he dropped this shit on me, he changed my life. So I'm just telling you right now, this man is all about this right now, and he is a master at it. Go. Okay, I appreciate that. So years ago, the background is years ago, I reckon about 22 years ago now, I recognized that I was the friend to God that only called when I had something heavy to move, right? Yeah. Like I'd found myself in a bad situation, and I'm like, oh man, God, if you could just help me out here. I don't know what to do, But I never actually, recognized the things that he was doing all the time around me, just because he loves me, right? And those that aren't spiritual, we can just say, well, you've just got so many opportunities around you, and you can cater that to whatever you need to make feel comfortable. But for me, it's a spiritual thing. And so I made a pact with myself that I would start every day by picking 10 things in my life that I took for granted. I'd wholeheartedly thank God for those things as gifts. And that's how I'd start my day. And I wouldn't ask for anything for myself, but I certainly could ask for things for other people, right? Mm-hmm. So it was outward. And for those who question whether or not it does anything, what God does, God honors a grateful heart. And for sure, what happens is what happened to me is that opportunities started falling in my lap, and I started getting favor with clients and provision. And the biggest thing is that I developed, because I was living my life out of gratitude and not expectation, I was able to deal with problems much, much more fluidly and gracefully, rather than be riddled with anxiety and stress and lose my temper. And which was a common platform in my life at that point. So over the last 20 years, I've shared that with thousands of people. And truly, it is amazing. And the power in it is this is where it's a little tricky for people. But if you pick 10 things, you have to pick 10 new things every day. Okay, there's no repeats. You can be grateful for your family, your friends, your, whatever it is, your dog, whatever it is, every day, which is always a good thing, but you need to pick 10 new things every day. So what happens is about day 10, you start to find yourself looking throughout the entire day for the things to be grateful for the next day. And that's the shift. That's the shift of perspective. And without actually moving your feet, your glass went from being half empty to half full. So
it opens you up to opportunity in ways that you never imagined were possible. And so now what I've done is I've done a little twist on it, because I've done it so long. I've also dummied it down a little bit to 5 things versus 10. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I actually have a little form that I send people now to help track it. Okay. And basically what we do is, every day you jot down your 5 things that you're grateful for. And then you acknowledge the things in your life that are wins, and congratulate yourself for the things that you have gotten accomplished. And because it's equally as important as being grateful, is to give yourself credit, because, most of us are our worst critics, right?
For sure.
And at the end, anybody who wants that sheet, I'll be glad to send it to them. They just drop me an email and I'll be glad to forward it to them. But that change in perspective is how you get through those barriers of, things are never going to change. It's never going to get any better. And that is absolutely the most powerful thing that's ever happened in my life. And quite frankly, I attribute that to our relationship, to all of the relationships that have come about since. It's really quite amazing. Back during COVID, I recognized that, and I may have shared this with you. I'm sure I did, but I may have recognized, or I lost my train of thought. Back during COVID, I recognized that, we had the society had we'd all been so split, we're all split and divided now, and everyone was so worried about reaching out or any contact. Everyone was kind of closed in. And so much like you, we have a huge circle of influence. And I was now that I'm working with this new firm, especially, I have a lot of drive time. And so now part of my gratitude and win journal is I pick one person every day in my life that has been a touch point. It could be a client, it could be, a past friend, or just somebody I met, whatever. And I think about how they impacted my life, and because as insignificant as it may have been, it is a touch point, and their relationship in some facet had an impact on me. Our paths crossed, right? So basically what I do is every day I pick somebody, and I wholeheartedly thank God for them. I say a quick prayer for them, and, pray that they're doing well and that, they have everything that they need, and just really send good, feelings of appreciation to them. And then I pick up the phone and I call them, and I say, hey, today you're my guy. For whatever reason, you're on my heart. And I just want to tell you, we haven't talked in years or whatever it may be, that I appreciate you. And I'm glad that our paths crossed way back when or whatever. And that's it. And the best is if it's a voicemail, because it's always a little awkward when people feel like they have to reciprocate, So, but that's been also really, really helpful for me. And that's really where, truthfully, this whole, fake facade thing has really shown, because almost every time when I call that person, almost every time there's something that they're carrying or they're wrestling with in their life that, they just need to talk about it. And it's really an amazing thing. So I consider that to be kind of a divine steering. It's not really me. It's really, God kind of using me to connect with people. But I would encourage you to try it, and the listeners, if you've got a big phone log, like I got 8,000 people in my phone, I just, sometimes I just randomly go through and just hit a button and call. And it's really incredible. It's really incredible. I've gotten some great work out of it too. I'm not going to lie. People have said, hey, we've been thinking about calling you. We got this,
Yeah. But dude, I love when I see my phone, it says Kyle Stevens on my phone. It pops up. I'm like, Here's my boy. Right. And then you're like, dude, this is no bullshit, listeners. Like, he does this really. This isn't something he sits here and tells you about what would be ideal. Like, this man does this, and you'll just see it pop up and like, oh, I haven't thought about Kyle in a little while. I wonder what he's up to. And then he's like, hey man, just spreading love. That's all. Just see what you're up to. And I'm like, oh, let's have a conversation. He's like, no, dude, just spreading love. He's like, gotta go.
Giving you a phone hug.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so beautiful that you do that, man. And the gratitude side of things I've implemented. I didn't do the 10, but you're absolutely right. And that's something I learned on my journey as well, with how many beautiful things are around us every single day that we take for granted and that we don't think about. And when I started to think about, gratitude and being grateful for things, as part of Tony's priming is to think of 3 things that you're grateful for. I kept thinking of the same 3 things. I kept thinking over and over about it, and it kind of wore it out. And then I met you at the UPW in Poconos, right? The one we threw, and you dropped that bomb on me. Like, but the rule is you can't use the same 10 twice. And I'm like, oh man, I'm like, now I got to go and I got to look for new cool things every day. And then my RAS, reticular activating system, started looking for cool stuff all over the place. And I'm like, holy moly, I know tomorrow morning I'm going to have to come up with 10. So I've kind of done the 5 or 10 now, but I've started writing a journal every night so I can unpack that, today and write it down and things that I'm grateful for. And then this conversation will be something that will definitely go into that journal tonight about something that I'm capturing from my day that I absolutely loved. And just to remind myself about how truly blessed God has made my life, and how we've moved through and how so much of my life I never thought about it. And now all I see is beauty and abundance all around me and in people, because I've rewired my brain for it. And that was something you actually have to do. You aren't just born with it. I wasn't born with it. I had to rewire that brain. I had to focus on the filter I see the world through. My filter could be doom and gloom. My filter could be beautiful rainbows and unicorns. That is my choice, my filter. And thinking about gratitude is the fastest way to get you to the beautiful side of life. And to do it like Kyle's saying right now is just magical. So, Kyle, I could talk with you all day long about this. Yeah. I'm glad that we went through and that we broke down this whole fake facade bullshit. So if you're out there telling everybody, yeah, everything's great, everything's perfect, you know what the other person's saying? Bullshit. They all know everyone struggles with stuff. So just drop the bullshit and say, guys, look, everything's good. I got a couple of things I need to work on. You think you can help me with this? Even if it's a competitive, whatever. We train competitors, here at Yes Express. Right. We train competitors that are within a softball's throw from my office. I don't care. This is about impacting and empowering our entire industry, not just about making me money. That's not what it's ever been about. So the reality is that if you drop the facade, if you start to show up without ego, if you start to ask good questions, if you can become that kindergartner again and suck at something new today and humble yourself down and look at life through the lens of gratitude, like Kyle mentioned today, everything changes. And the best part? It's free.
Yeah, it sure is.
It's free.
It is.
And then imagine what's going to happen in your business and in your life and in your family and in your future and the kind of legacy you leave. It's all how you see the world. That's the secret.
And simple. It's a challenge, Josh, it's a challenge. And I dare anybody to try it. I dare anybody to try it. I
double dog dare you that one.
Anybody to do it 10 days, and I triple dog dare you to do it 30.
Oh, damn.
If you get to 30 days, oh man, your life is going to change.
100%. There's no doubt.
It is just the way it is. And
it is.
So that's great. I appreciate the opportunity to be on here.
Brother, I always love and respect hanging out with you and chatting. And I know that the listeners got a ton today. I got a ton today. Just hearing your message again just lights my soul back up. I love it. So, all right, you mentioned that you would send that sheet to people, that worksheet. What's the best way for them to reach out for that worksheet? It's a free sheet.
They can send me for any contact. The best way to get a hold of me, you can get a hold of me through Facebook, Kyle D. Stevens with a V. Or you can email me at kdsdesignbuild@gmail.com, and I'll be glad to send you that form. The goal is that ultimately I'm going to refine it and create an app, and that way we can just share it and spread it around the world and include photos. I want to be able to include photos on the app so that you can have a daily log and a monthly log of it. But
you can track your progress too.
And with that being said, if people, are having trouble and they want to have a chat, my phone is always available, and I'm always eager to help people succeed and conquer the barriers in their lives. So
I love that about you, brother. Absolutely love that about you. And thank you for spending your most precious asset with us today, your time, to bestow your knowledge and what you've learned over your years in business and life. And as always, man, I'm always so privileged to have you here. So thank you, Kyle.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
So guys, if you got, same here, brother, right back at you. So guys and gals out there, if you found some value, and I'm sure you did in this episode, and you have somebody that this reminds you, maybe they could benefit from hearing it, just share it with them. It's free. And if you get the opportunity, it would make a big difference for us and be able to continue this kind of conversation in our industry. If you leave us a review on either Apple or Spotify about the podcast and how it's helped you, if you drop some information in there, that'd be amazing, because so many people read those before jumping on a podcast to see if it's valuable enough. So if you see that, that's amazing. If you don't, that's okay too. Just keep tuning in. We've got a ton of awesome people like Kyle that are coming on to help us. Our goal is to impact and empower our industry, and that's what it is. And it's not always just about the nuts and bolts, about planting trees and throwing pavers at the ground or digging footers or any of those kinds of, those are all important. But if you don't get your mind right, you don't get your sales process right, you don't get your communication right, you just may end up at the end of your life only with money. So, till next week, peace out.